Wars are usually explained through generals and armies, but history hides a quieter truth. Some wars were not won by soldiers. They were won by places, narrow land, cold mountains, thin strips of earth that decided who could move, who could breathe, and who would starve. Empires marched with millions of men, only to stop at the same point every time. Because when geography says no, even the strongest army becomes helpless. This is the story of places that won wars without ever fighting one. Different empires, different centuries, the same mistake. They all believed numbers would save them. More soldiers, more weapons, more confidence. But when their armies reached the narrow passes, movement slowed, supplies broke, discipline collapsed. One by one, empires learned the same lesson too late. You cannot surround a mountain. You cannot intimidate a river. History doesn't repeat because leaders are foolish. It repeats because geography never changes. Soldiers fear enemies they can see, but the worst fear comes from what cannot be fought. Endless cold, steep ground that steals strength with every step, silence broken only by hunger. In these places, morale dies first, orders stop mattering, courage becomes irrelevant. Men don't surrender because they are weak. They surrender because the land has already defeated them. In war, the battlefield is not always where the killing happens. Sometimes, it's where hope disappears. History celebrates famous battles, but it forgets the locations that made those battles inevitable. Quiet passes, unmarked corridors, places ignored by textbooks, yet studied by generals in silence. Whoever controlled these routes didn't need victory. They only needed patience. Armies stalled. Empires drained themselves trying to pass. Some of the most powerful moments in history happened where no monuments were ever built. We remember history as a story of human decisions. But beneath every decision lies a map. Mountains choose where armies walk. Rivers decide where cities rise. Narrow land decides who controls the world. Weapons evolve. Empires fall. Ideologies vanish. But geography remains. Silent, unmoving, unforgiving. And long after kings are forgotten, the land continues to decide who wins the next war. There is a mountain pass that has been crossed for over 2,000 years. Persians, Greeks, Mughals, British armies. Every invader believed they were different. Every one of them used the same narrow road. The land never changed, only the flags did. Control the pass, and you control the future beyond it. Lose it, and even victory becomes temporary. This is not coincidence. This is geography repeating its verdict. On a map, the land looks open, wide, inviting. In reality, it is a trap. Supplies stretch thin, movement slows, and armies begin to fight the land instead of the enemy. Many commanders mistook empty space for freedom, only to discover the distance itself can destroy an army. Sometimes the deadliest weapon in war is simply space. Empires don't just move on land, they move on water. And at sea, narrow passages are more powerful than fleets. A single strait can decide trade, food, and survival. Ships may outnumber defenders, but they cannot pass through at once. Control the choke point, and you control the empire behind it. Lose it, and the war is already over. Naval history isn't written by ships. It's written by straits. Some battles were never meant to be won, not because the army was weak, but because the location was wrong. Commanders planned, soldiers obeyed. Everything went according to strategy, except the ground refused to cooperate. No plan survives contact with the enemy, but none survive contact with bad geography either. In war, the land always gets the final vote. If wars were decided only by bravery, history would look very different. But again and again, the same places shape the same outcomes. Passes, straits, corridors of power carved by nature itself. These locations don't care who rules. They only reward those who understand them. This is not a collection of stories. It's a pattern. And once you see it, you'll never read history the same way again. Before it became a heroic story, Thermopylae was a problem. A narrow strip of land between mountains and sea, wide enough for only a few men to pass at a time. Armies didn't fight here because they wanted to. They fought here because there was no alternative. Control this gap, and southern Greece was safe. Lose it, and invasion became inevitable. Thermopylae wasn't famous because of bravery. It was famous because geography demanded sacrifice. For thousands of years, the Khyber Pass has been the doorway into the Indian subcontinent. Persians, Greeks, Central Asian conquerors, colonial armies, different weapons, different beliefs. The same route. The mountains allow passage, but only on their terms. Empires that ignored the pass were isolated. Empires that controlled it ruled millions. The Khyber Pass didn't choose sides. It chose those who respected it. Two continents, one narrow channel. The Bosporus is barely wide enough to breathe. Yet it has decided the fate of empires for centuries. Control this strait, and you control trade between worlds. Lose it, and even powerful navies become irrelevant. This is why cities rose here, why wars were fought here, why empires refused to let it go. Sometimes the smallest spaces hold the greatest power. In modern war, geography didn't disappear. It simply waited. During the Cold War, the Fulda Gap was the most feared location in Europe. A natural corridor straight into the heart of the continent. No battle ever happened, because both sides understood the land too well. Sometimes geography prevents war by making its consequences obvious. These places are not accidents of history. They are its framework. Thermopylae, the Khyber Pass, the Bosporus, the Fulda Gap. Different eras, same logic. Empires rise where movement is controlled. They fall where geography is ignored. History is not random. It is shaped by the land beneath our feet. Many armies believed Russia could be conquered by force. They all learned the same lesson. Distance is a weapon. Roads vanished, supplies froze, and time itself turned hostile. Napoleon didn't lose because he lacked genius. He lost because genius cannot command the land. Over a century later, the same path was chosen again. Different ideology, same assumptions. History warned them, maps warned them. But geography only teaches one lesson, once. Gallipoli looked simple on paper. Reality was cliffs, narrow beaches, and exposed supply lines. Gallipoli wasn't lost because of courage. It was lost because the terrain chose the defender. Jungles don't reward strength. They punish presence. Deserts appear empty, but emptiness is not weakness. Mountains compress power. Height becomes authority. Some land cannot be conquered, only endured. War here ends not with victory, but with withdrawal. Weather has no allegiance. Storms halt fleets. Fog blinds armies. Rain destroys plans without warning. Cities are terrain stacked vertically. Every structure becomes a decision point. Satellites see everything. Yet armies still slow down at the same rivers, the same passes, the same choke points. Technology adapts. Geography endures. Wars are not fought at the front. They are fought behind it. Stretch the supply line too far, and the army becomes hollow. Commanders plan for certainty. War delivers friction. No matter how advanced the army, war remains a negotiation, with geography holding the leverage. History remembers names, but power moves through places. Empires rise believing they command the world until the land reminds them otherwise. History changes, geography does not. And as long as wars are fought, geography will remain the most powerful force on Earth.